Okay, so I have a confession. Started publishing August 30th, 1996. And I didn't really know I was starting a business when I started to publish there. Sent that email out to 19 people. It was the Walker Market Letter. Sent it out to 19 people, which were all my friends and families, all my friends and family that I knew that had an email address and that I knew had some level of interest in the stock market. So I sent it out to them, and then I started publishing first on a monthly basis and then a twice monthly basis. But I didn't really have a revenue model, and I wasn't really thinking about making money. The thing is I was a stay-at-home dad. I was desperate for a change. We had very, very little money. My wife was hoping I could help support the family in some way, and it wasn't like I decided to start publishing this newsletter to make money. I actually started publishing a newsletter to try to get into school. So I had decided the way I was going to change my life was I was going to go back to school and get a degree. And I already had a business degree, but I quit the corporate world, and I came home and I stayed home with the babies, taking care of my two little kids for years, and I committed career suicide. So I thought, how can I get back into the job world? I'll go and get a graduate degree. But the problem is, if you're going to try to apply to business school, and I was looking to get a degree in finance, a graduate degree in finance of all things, pretty amazing. But to get into a graduate school, you need to have a resume, just like you need a resume to get a job. And so I'm like, what can I put on this resume? I've just been taking care of kids and changing diapers and making peanut butter sandwiches for years. How can I get into grad school? And so what I decided was I would start publishing this newsletter. And wasn't going to tell, then I would just put that on my resume and put that on my application that I was publishing a newsletter. And I didn't have to tell them that it was just via email. They'd probably assume it was like a real newsletter. It was going to be important, and then maybe they'd think I was important. They'd let me into school. So I started writing that newsletter, started sending it out. Figure if I could get up to 600, 700 subscribers, I could tell them I had 600 subscribers. They wouldn't know it was a free newsletter, and it would look great on the resume. And they thought, well, this guy, he's been doing something with his life, and we'll let him into school. So that was my great big plan. In the meantime, I went through all this, got my transcripts and filled out these applications and took the GMAT test and studied for weeks and weeks and months to take that test so I could get into grad school. And the amazing thing is this plan actually worked. It worked, and they let me into school. And so I started in school in early January of 1997. So I've been publishing the newsletter for about 4 months, and I did that very first launch right at the beginning of January, $1,650. And then I went and I started my first class. It was going to be graduate finance, and there's 75 or 100 people in this class. And I go to that very, very first class. And I'm sitting in there, and the teacher's lecturing away, and it's sort of like, for those of you who remember that Peanuts cartoon, it was like the professor, or the professor sounded like the teacher there. It was going, wah, 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 just talking about this stuff, which really wasn't very exciting. It was graduate level finance. And I remember sitting there. And the one thing you got to know about me is I'm not a super impulsive person. This 30-day challenge was a bit impulsive, but I'm not that much of an impulsive person. I tend to think things through. But I sat there and I was listening to that teacher talk and lecture about this finance. And I was thinking about that launch I just done and $1,650. And this thought I had, one of the most important thoughts I've ever had in my life was, wow, I did one launch, and I could do another launch and another launch. And, I might even actually get better at doing these launches, and who knows where this could go. And I thought about this little thing that I'd started, this newsletter, which had become a business and was now generating money, and how it could continue to grow. And I thought about that path. And then I thought about being in school for 2 years and then going back to that corporate world, which I had never done very well. And I basically failed the first time I tried that corporate world. It hadn't worked out so well. I was the round peg in a square hole. I just did not fit in the corporate world. And I sat there and I was listening to that lecture. And then I did something that To this day, it seems amazing to me, but right in the middle of that very first lecture, after working for 4 months to get accepted into school, I just stood up and I walked out of the class in the middle of the class. My graduate finance degree schooling lasted exactly 1/2 of one lecture. I could see the future. I saw the future, and the future was in my business. I knew I could get better. I knew I had already had this minimal success. I knew I could get better. I knew it was only going to go higher and higher and higher from there. So that was my graduate school career, half of a lecture, and I've never looked back since then. And, a lot of people have written, since this 30-day challenge started, that people have written in, and one of the things they ask about is, what were your fears when you were first starting out? And to me, it wasn't so much about fear. It was just I was in a desperate place to make a change. And I come up with this plan, which in retrospect was a pretty bad plan. It was like spend 2 years to go to school to get back in this corporate world that I'd failed at in the first place. But once I could start to see those first successes, I knew it was inevitable that I was going to get better and things were going to progress from there. And that's exactly what happened. So this is my 20 years and 30-day challenge. I'm doing a video a day for 30 days to give you my lessons learned for my first 20 years in online business. If you're watching this at jeffwalker.com, or if you're watching it on my YouTube channel or my Facebook page, then scroll down, give me some reaction, give me a comment. If you think someone's at a big crossroads in their life and this video could be a boost for them or a help for them or give them some clarity, then please share it with them and let's go get them this week.